Hi, my name is Joanne, and I'm a designer here at Aldik Home. And today I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite arrangements using succulents. I brought some tools with me to show you exactly how I start out. What's the most important thing, I think, is to find out where this piece is going. A lot of our customers come in and want us to make a piece for them, and I always say your container is the most important. That's your foundation, and that's what you start with. So I've chosen an interesting shaped piece, which is pretty popular here at Aldik. It's a silver tray, and this can be put on either a dining room table, it can be put on a side table, and it's very, very useful. It's low, and I'll show you what I do with it. When I get started, I basically fill the container with foam. Here at Aldik, we have a foam which is a mixture of a combination that actually rises and hardens. You at home who don't have that availability to use, we basically use styrofoam. And the styrofoam goes inside of the container, which we cut to the size and then we glue in. But for quickness sake, I have already filled my container with our foam. And for a little bit of drama, I like to stick a piece of wood in it, something natural. So I wanted to show you, these are the components, the wood and the container. I'm basically going to start with, once the foam is prepared and hardened and I've put my wood piece in, the next step is to take a piece of moss. We cover all our foam with moss, and I'm going to show you how I do that. The tools I use is I use a scissor, I use my wire cutters, I basically use a screwdriver, and I use pins which I've previously made that are cut to hold in the moss. What I do is I take the moss, which comes in sheets, and I actually either tear or I cut the moss with my scissors to form over the styrofoam or the hardened foam. And what I do is I take my pre-cut wire, which I've cut from a long piece, and I've just cut it and folded it, and I use this wire to stick into the foam to hold down my moss. And I'll continue to do this all the way around my piece so that you don't see any of the moss at all. And I form the moss to the foam and use the pins. And I will do this along the entire piece. Sometimes we use a moss called mood moss, which is a little bit lumpier, but in this particular case, since I want the piece a little on the lower side, I'm using a flatter moss. But what I try and do is I try and make it as natural as can be, because as you realize, these succulents are made of different materials and some are plastic, and the whole idea is to fool the viewer, because you want it to look as real as possible and as natural as possible, and you want them to think that whoever looks at this piece, that this piece is actually the real McCoy. These are real succulents. So we try and make it look as natural as can be, and adding a natural piece of wood or stone, it kind of tricks your eye a bit, and you don't pay so much attention to the faux-ness of the piece. And what I do is I just continue to put the pins into the moss, which holds the moss in, and it gives me the foundation for the succulents that I'm going to be putting in. Now, once I've completed the moss, I'm ready to put the succulents in.